Dr. Purdy also had what he believed was strong evidence of mental deficiency in her family. Not only had her mother been declared a moron, but his own staff had done the diagnosis. And again, Dr. Purdy could personally testify to it. He also knew about 8 more Bucks and Harlows at the colony. By the way, Harlows are just another family. They were all from Albemarle County, and more inmates with those names from nearby counties. Dr. Purdy was not certain of Carrie's relation to these people, but he believed they created a picture of family with hereditary feeble-mindedness. As an unwed mother, Carrie also embodied the nightmare vision the eugenicists were promoting. A feeble-minded woman that they, before their age of 18, the eugenicists could argue there was no telling how many more feeble-minded children she would bring into the world if she was not sterilized. Carrie's youth was also an advantage, with so many childbearing years ahead of her. Carrie would have to be locked up at the colony for years if she was not sterilized. That would be costly for the taxpayers and would be burdensome for Carrie, who would be denied her liberty for far longer than any woman toward the end of her reproductive years. After setting on Carrie for the test case, Dr. Purdy began taking the steps the law required to sterilize her. He petitioned the circuit court in Amherst County, the county in which the colony was located, to appoint a legal guardian. On January 21st, 1924, the court named Robert G. Shelton, a local lawyer. Shelton was authorized to bring a challenge to the law on Carrie's behalf, and the court decreed that he be compensated at the rate of $5 a day, not to exceed $15. Shelton would prove to be Carrie's guardian in some way. I mean, in name only. I don't know why I thought it said that. The requirement that the guardian be appointed was supposed to ensure that an adult with full mental capacity would vigorously protect Carrie's interests in the upcoming proceedings. But that was not how it worked out. Shelton, who was likely well known to Dr. Purdy and Strode, became an active participant in the test case that the two men were putting together. He would hire a good friend of Dr. Purdy and Strode to represent Carrie, and he would stand by as Carrie's interests. Her ability to have children and her bodily integrity were sacrificed to the eugenic cause. With the guardian appointed, the next step was for Dr. Purdy to formally request authorization to sterilize Carrie. The law required him to submit a petition to the colony's special board of directors, quote, stating the facts of the case and the grounds of his opinion that sterilization was warranted. The board was then required to hold a hearing to receive testimony and consider evidence. The law specified that the inmate had to be given advance notice and had a right to be present. On July 24th, Dr. Purdy petitioned the colony board for permission to perform salpingectomy on Carrie. Tracking the language of the new law, he said it believed it was in society's interest and her interest that she, quote, she be sexually sterilized, she be afflicted with feeble-mindedness. It was in society's interest because if she reproduced, quote, by reason of the laws of heredity, she would, in all probability, transmit to her offspring some form of mental defectiveness. It was in Carrie's interest because she could then be released to, quote, enjoy the liberty and blessings of outdoor life. Dr. Purdy also said, without explaining how he knew it, that Carrie, quote, desires that the sterilization, quote, be performed. What a freak. Just stick with, your own opinion. Jesus Christ. Unless that is his opinion. Whatever. The colony's special board of director set a hearing for September 10th, 1924, Carrie, her mother, and her guardian were notified of the date and the time as the law required and uh, invited to attend. The colony was scrupulous about followers. That the law's procedural protections were designed to protect the rights of the person being considered for sterilization. There was only one problem. Carrie had no idea what was going on. That's hilarious for some reason. I don't know why. It's really not. Just just going through all this and being like, she's just reading the whole time, or like, because we know she's not feeble-minded, like, because at the beginning I think it mentioned that. So she's just like in her own little world, like doodling in her mind while she's just about to get sterilized, and she snaps out. She's like, oh, hey, what's up? Jesus Christ, what the hell? Um, that's so whack. On September 10th, the colony hosted Virginia's first eugenic sterilization hearing. The special board of directors convened and sat in judgment. Dr. Purdy attended as petitioner, represented by his counsel, Strode. Carrie was present, accompanied by her guardian, Shelton. The chairman of the colony board swore in Dr. Purdy, and the testimony began. Under questioning by Strode, Dr. Purdy recited his qualifications, including his years at Southwestern State Hospital. During his tenure as superintendent of the colony, he said he had observed and treated more than 600 mentally defective female inmates. Strode quickly moved to the heart of the matter. What was it about Carrie Buck's sterilization, or about Carrie Buck's situation? He asked Dr. Purdy. They led him to the opinion that would it be better for both of her and for society, he said. And if she were sterilized, Dr. Purdy said, Carrie had been under his care and observation since she arrived at the colony on June 4th. He had administered the Binet-Simon test, he said, and had ascertained that she is feeble-minded of the lowest grade moron class. Jeez. While her chronological age was 18, Dr. Purdy said, her mental age was 9. Dr. Purdy also testified that Carrie was a, quote, moral delinquent, apparently a reference to her having given birth out of wedlock. Dr. Purdy's claim that Carrie had testified as, quote, the lowest grade moron class was one of the numbers of false or misleading statements he made at the hearing. In the, quote, history and clinical notes he prepared when she arrived, Dr. Purdy stated that Carrie was middle grade moron, not the lowest grade, as he now testified. He did not inform the board of his previous evaluations. Dr. Purdy also failed to provide the board with information in the colony's records that contradicted the claim that Carrie was mentally defective. He did not mention that she had successfully reached the 6th grade, a fact that he had recorded in the history and clinical notes just a few months earlier when Carrie arrived, nor did he tell the board that Carrie's practical knowledge and general information were, quote, about up to that of her class and opportunity, which he had also written in his notes on Carrie's arrival before she was at the center of his test case. As Strode continued his questioning, Dr. Purdy made his case that Carrie belonged to a line of mentally and morally defective people. He testified that Carrie was, according to the sworn depositions that were part of her commitment papers, quote, of unknown paternity. He said that Carrie's mother, Emma, had been a feeble-minded patient at the colony for several years and, quote, of low mental age, and he told the board that, according to the depositions that had been used in committing Carrie to the colony, she had one illegitimate mentally defective child.